The Yabo Ezri Me'im Hashem Oseh Shamayim Va'aretz Ezri Me'im Hashem Oseh Shamayim Va'aretz. So we want to talk about Pesach because when you talk about something and you give it your attention and you're especially the kind of intention that we want to bring down the light of Pesach. Very special thing. Every holiday is special. Everyone is unique. And it's in the tools that so much to do for Pesach. So much to do for Pesach. Since we only have 2 weeks, this week and next week, if at all, I'm pretty sure we're doing next week. So, but I therefore want to jump to the chase. I want to go straight to the essence of Pesach night, to the best of my ability, and together we can do it. I want to share with you a Torah from the Ari. It's all over the place in tens of places. I chose 3 main places, and if we don't get through all of them, you'll have them in these handouts we didn't get yet. And the Ari is life-changing, because he gives you information from a different level, right? And so even if it goes in at first like, what is that about, and what did he say, and why did he say this first and that second, that should have been backwards, upside down, all that stuff is the locks and the bars that were put on this knowledge in order to make it hard to get, to chase away those who are not supposed to have it. But in our generation, we're trying to take the bars off and take the locks off and share the parts of it that are like really there, really helpful for all of us. So whatever technicalities are difficult or confusing, we'll just kind of we'll say whatever we can to clarify, because it's Torah and we want to learn, we want to understand it, but we don't want it to get in the way of the transmission, basically, the download that the Ari can give us. And not only the Ari, but even if we choose the Ari, it's a funnel for all those who came before and after. If we choose the Baal Shem Tov, he's a funnel for all those who came before and after him. They all, at a certain level, they all think together. They're all together upstairs. And they all want us to understand certain things down here this time. No Pesach is ever the same as any other Pesach. Every Pesach is closer to Mashiach. Every Pesach is giving us more light as we get closer to the end. There's also a force of darkness that tries to stop us. So there's more light coming in. In a sense, the light is hidden by the darkness. When you look at the outside world, you only see things getting worse. But on the inner level of creation, on the inner level of history, it's getting closer and closer. There's a lot of different metaphors, mashalim, for this, but that's the idea. Yes. No.
Does more light mean more darkness? Is it a balance?
Not that it means more darkness. It's that in order for there to be maintain a balance of free will, Hashem brings in the light, but he brings it in such a way that you're not forced by it. You're not coerced by it. Heaven doesn't coerce. It doesn't come in on, it doesn't hit you in the head, because he wants you to come of it and come to it on your own. That each one of us should start to come to the truth. There's no factory here. There's no place where they can just put you through on a conveyor belt and give you dot, right, and give you consciousness. Every one of us has to acquire it, and one of the ways is to look at our own lives differently. So the information being given here is how to look at our own lives differently. But the Ari speaks on the level of the cosmic story of creation. The Ari speaks on the level of the greater meta-historical level of creation. The Baal Shem Tov shows us that within the Ari's writings, within the Ari's teachings, it has total personal, psychological, neshama level application. So you're presented very often with a big story, and then your job, our job, is to, wow, oh my goodness, that's my life. I have something to do with that. If it will be a movie on a huge screen, surrounded by the screen with a complete perfect level of a movie made by nobody but Hashem himself, and we'd see this movie, we'd say, oh, that's me. And you appear in the movie every once in a while. That's me. I'm here too, though. Who's me? Life now, I am playing the same cosmic role that I played in the Torah. The Torah is the cosmic drama, the template for all of history, all of mankind. It's not just the Jewish people. So anyway, I'm just the idea of a movie with seeing it in front of me and seeing that we appear in that movie. However you can get that. So our movie, our lives, each one of our lives individually and all of our lives collectively is an incredible thing. And that's what Hashem wants us now to impinge upon our consciousness, that we are part of something very great, and that it's a very personal, and at the same time, through the personal, we come to the higher level of the collective and our connection to Hashem. Let's go. Okay, in the Gemara, in the Haggadah Shel Pesach, which is from the Gemara in Pesachim, there's a machloket about when the Shibud Mitzrayim began, when the subjugation in Egypt began. A machloket between Rav and Shmuel. And as the result, we follow both of them. We start with the opinion of one of them, where we say that Avadim Hayinu the Paro b'Mitzrayim, that we were slaves to Paro in Egypt, and that satisfies that we the position of I think of Rav, I'm not sure. And then later on in the Haggadah, we say that we were that the father of Avram was Terach, and Terach was an idol worshiper. And he lived on, and Hashem took Avraham and took him from one side of the river to the other. It was Avar, Ivri, and he brought him. I didn't bring a Haggadah Shel Pesach with me, believe it or not. But the idea is that we're going back even further than the slavery in Egypt, which is the physical slavery. We're going back to that we came from our ancestors before Abraham were Ovdei Avodah Zarah, were idolaters. We had lost the monotheistic tradition, the transmission from Adam through Chanoch and Noach, and we had sunken. And so even out of that, Hashem brought us out. He brought Avraham and Yitzhak and Yaakov, and he brought Yaakov down to Mitzrayim, Anus al Pi Adibor. After he was for Lavan, and he made it through that, then he came down to Egypt. And we'll see all kinds of things about how history led up to Egypt, and how Egypt was a major, an important, crucial moment in the history of the world. Again, it happens in the story of the Jewish people, the Israelite people, but it's really a templatic, it's a paradigmatic story that applies to every human being. It's just that we're the ones who live through it in the most dramatic way. So I'm just trying to say that in the Haggadah Shel Pesach, the way it's explained to me is that we begin by saying that we were physical slaves in Egypt, but we go even further when we say, you know what, it didn't start with physical slavery. It started before that with a spiritual slavery. And the example given by one of my great teachers, Rav Bullman, was that when a person is sick physically, you can't deny it. But a psychologically sick person, the worse off he is, the more he'll think that he's healthy. In other words, that's the sign that there's something wrong. He says, I'm totally perfect. And he's doing things that are obviously indicative of somebody being not normal. But he thinks he's okay. I'm totally right and the whole world is wrong. So the spiritual malady is harder to put your finger on, because it's you think you're okay. But when it's finally physical, you got to admit it. It's out there. So that's what I heard about that. But what the big Rebbes, the Mikubalim, and the big masters did was they didn't go back just only to Terach, Avi Avraham. They went back to Adam Rishon. So that's what we're going to do tonight. How does Pesach culminate something that started with Adam Rishon? That's just the introduction. That's all. Okay. So, the mysterious 130 years. Who didn't get? One of my books is called The Well of Living Waters. So this is an excerpt from 2 chapters. I squished it down, made it smaller. The Well of Living Waters is in which part 1 is about Eliyahu Navi, who he is, and especially who he became after he left this world and became a malach. And he came to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he came to the Ari, came to Baal Shem Tov, he came to the Gaon of Vilna. This thing called Eliyahu, which is basically a code name for a certain type of transmission. When somebody is said to have had Gilui Eliyahu, the revelation of Elijah, it's not easy to get into that class. But the Ari did have it, others had it. So the first part of the book is that is the Navi of the Sefer Yisrael. Who are you? Time, when are you? Space, where are you? What is this world? Where did it come from? Where is it going? What's the cosmological teachings of the Torah about how Hashem brought the world into existence, and where's it going? The energy levels involved, why this world is it is now. When are we? The time that we're living right now, the cosmic clock that we're living just before the beginning of the 7th millennium. We're at the end of the 6th millennium. Like we're basically on 12:32 in the afternoon of Friday afternoon of history. Right? That's when the trumpets were blown in the Beit HaMikdash, signaling everybody to stop their weekday work and to begin preparations for Shabbat. If you haven't already started preparing, you must start preparing at 12, and again at 12:30. There was another trumpet sound, and we're after 12:30 of Friday afternoon of history, if that makes sense to anybody. But there's written stuff about it, and anybody has any questions, we can go. Then the question of who are we? Olam, Shana, Nefesh. Olam is space, Shana is time, Nefesh is soul. Who are we? In my opinion, I think not only in my opinion, it's who are we that makes all the difference of what we do with when are we and where are we. It's what you say, like mazel, they say is makom, lashon, and zman. Makom Zman, Makom is where are you, the place. Zman is when are you, time. Lamed of Mazal is your tongue, is what you say. So in a sense, it's similar. It just has a slight switch from Olam Shana Nefesh, instead of just Nefesh, but it says it's what you say, it's what you do with where you are and when you are. That's what's going to make the difference. So in the soul part of this book, The Well of Living Waters, I claim that the most important thing is who are we, and that the main address for who to go to know who we are, for what's called the collective drama of the souls, starting with Adam, is the Ari. So we're going to be introduced here to this idea called the 130 years. In Hebrew, it's called Kal Shanim. Kuf Lamed is 130 in terms of gematria. The Kal Shanim. One thing you don't have here is that the Nisim, the princes, when they were doing the inauguration of the Mishkan, something we actually read from Rosh Chodesh Nisan for 12 days, the inauguration of the Mishkan, that the princes waited till everybody brought everything, starting from Hanukkah, or starting whatever. So, and then they waited to see what was going to be not brought by everybody else, and they were going to bring it. And the first one, the Gemara Naso, it's the longest parsha in the Torah, is every prince of every tribe brings the same thing. It's a total repetition, 12 times. And the first thing that each one of them brings is called Ke'arat Kesef Achat, Mea Ushloshim Mishkala. Ke'arat Kesef Achat, one silver tray. Mishkala, its weight. Mishkala, its weight, being Mea Ushloshim shekel. I'm not sure. Mishkala Mea Shloshim. So Mea Shloshim is 130. Okay. Now in the word Mishkala, so the Midrash says that there are a lot of things involved in the number 130. Is first of all that Adam Rishon and Chava gave birth to their third son Shet when they were 130. It's psukim in the Torah. We'll see it here, I think. Whatever. Yaakov Avinu was 130 when he came to Egypt, and he lived another 17 years with his son Yosef. 147 years he passed away. Moshe Rabbeinu was born when his mother Yocheved was 130 years old. Adam Rishon gave birth, and Chava gave birth to Shet when they were 130. In other words, Chava gave birth to Shet when she was 130. Yocheved, which is a reincarnation of Chava, gave birth to Moshe, who was a reincarnation of Shet, otherwise known as Seth, when she was 130. So 130 becomes this symbolic number. Then the Ari adds that the word Mishkala, on top of the fact that this silver tray weighs 130 shekels, so it's Mishka, the word Mishkala is Mem Shin Kuf Lamed He. Mem Shin, and then the He at the end is Moshe. Mem Shin, and He at the end is Moshe. Kuf Lamed is 130. Moshe, 130. So the Ari says, this is too much to, the Torah doesn't do things like this for nothing. Not random. So in one place in the Kitvei Ari, Rav Chaim Vital writes in the name of his master, the Ari. So on page 1, know that during the first 130 years before he rejoined Chava to bear Shet, before he rejoined Chava, he separated from her, Adam emitted wasted seed. If Adam had admitted this seed in proper marital relations, the souls that would have been born would have been very holy. By meeting them the way he did without his wife, however, they were born as shadim, shades and demons, ruchim, disembodied spirits, and lilin, which I translate as banshees. Only after 130 years did he rejoin his wife and give birth to Shet, who was the soul of Moshe. In the meantime, the Holy One was forced to purify those souls that had been born during the entire 130 years, and which had become mixed with evil. He therefore reincarnated them during the generation of the flood. Because they had been shading in Ruchin, however, they were incarnated as non-Jews with extremely unevolved character traits. And I point out that it's very strange to call them non-Jews. There weren't any Jews yet. Of course they were non-Jews. So there's a little note there. So we're being introduced to this idea that he stayed away from his wife for 130 years. The Svarim say that he did this to do tshuva. But it was like, in a sense, it was the wrong thing to do. And it just exacerbated the problem. Piresh Mishto, it's the Midrash first of all. The Midrash says, Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he's also in Hagar Shobeza. Kol otan hashanim shaya adam rishon benidui, holid sheidim viruchim vililim. Whatever these characters are, these words mean, they're disembodied spirits. It says, Vayechi Adam 130 shana vayoled b'demuto kitzalmo. You don't have this. Is it the verse that says in Bereshit, I think the beginning of chapter 4, and Adam lived 130 years and gave birth to a son in his image and in his likeness. Miklal de'ad ha'idna, the Midrash says, we learn from this, it is implied that until now, lav b'tzalmeh olid, that he gave birth, but not to that which was in his image. Bless you. He gave birth to something, to children, to disembodied spirits, but they were not in his image. That's why the Torah says at the age of 130, he gave birth to a son who was in his image. So then they say in the Midrash, but Rabbi Meir said that Avon Rishon was a Chassid Gadol. He was a very, very incredible man. He saw that since he had been punished to bring death into the world, Amad v'yashav b'tanit kal shanim. He stood and he went into fasts for 130 years. He separated from his wife. So Rabbi Meir seems to be saying that he did a very good thing. And yet the other, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, says that he gave birth to very lowly creatures, which were disembodied spirits. Because when you're having seed coming out of you, a man having a seed coming out of him, especially if he has it with dreams, especially if there are women coming to him in his dreams. So these are called female shadim, who draw from a man's semen, and that's called a nocturnal emission. And if a person doesn't know anything, so okay, but a Jewish man doesn't want that to happen. That's why we say Kriyat Shema Sha'al Mitah, to protect ourselves from such dreams, and that we should ask and always pray that we, whether we're married or not married, that a man should not have those kind of dreams, because the spiritual concept here is that spiritual entities take that. That's the force of life, zera, seeds. So that force of life is so powerful by us, it's basically the story behind all of history, revolves around sexuality. The proper use of sexuality, as opposed to the distortion and the misuse of sexuality. So that's what this story is about. That's why Rabbi Nachman, for instance, after all is said and done and knows all the stuff that the Ari is saying, says tikkun haklali, right? If a person has a sexual emission, a seminal emission, then, and all the more so does anything wrong purposely, this is only when it's happening while a person is sleeping, all the more so a person who does something purposely, then you have to clean yourself. As Tehillim is Gematria Lamed Yud Taf, this female concept of that which lives off the life force of human beings. So we're getting into a lot of like interesting water here that we don't usually swim in, and we don't usually talk about things like this in public. But the Ari wants us to know these things, that this is what happened to Adam Rishon, and that his seed was being drawn out of him for 130 years. Rabbi Kaplan, in his book, The Waters of Eden, about mikveh, brings the midrash that Adam was sitting in the Gihon River. It's the complementary midrash to this whole thing here, that he was sitting in the river constantly because it was as a mikveh to him. He needed to clean himself. But again, the problem is that Rabbi Meir says he was a chassid, and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says it was a problem. So the midrash solves it by saying that he really meant well. He meant to do tshuva, but since he had the seed come out of him, and that was a problem, so that is why Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said that he was giving birth to these non-entities, and that was a problem. And again, he said, you want to do a misled chassid, if you want to, and that we would have asked him, please don't do this, go back to Chava, be with your wife. The Ari explains that the sin of Adam Rishon was that he had relations with his wife before Shabbat. If he would have waited for Shabbat, so then it would have been perfectly okay, it would have been level of the tree of life. But because, and he purposely jumped the gun, so he created the possibility of this fall. So his again, and naturally, if I did that, and that is what was I did wrong, so, but not understanding the full extent, this is what I did wrong, this is what. So we're kind of yelling at him in the movie, no, go back to Chava. This is like only causing problems. But he doesn't hear us in the movie. Okay, slicha, you see, you already got a little bit like complicated there. So the Ari tells about the 130. How did he realize? He met Cain. And Cain said that he was doing tshuva. I think it's another midrash about, I forgot exactly how it was. It has to do with Shabbos. When he sang Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbat, and something about that he realized, oh my goodness, I need to get back to my wife. Okay, so there's definitely some unanswered questions here. He's brought us into this story. Yeah. So what's going to happen is that since these souls are so, all souls are precious, and they were supposed to be born through Adam and Chava together, but since they were 130 years of souls, a whole bunch of them, Hashem wanted to fix them, to rectify them. They're very precious souls. The Ari gets into the detail of where seed comes from. It comes from what's called the top of the spine, Dat Elyon, and it goes down through the spine, whether it's true physiologically or not, but that's how it is spiritually. It goes down through the spine, and also the same thing with a woman, even it's not semen, but it's the ovulation, the egg, is that the whole library of Keter Chochmah Bina of each of the man and the wife, and the library of their Chesed Gvur Tiferet, and there's their mind, their emotions, and their character traits go packaged in body, physical seed, which is again something we don't even know what a miracle it is. And when they join, the two libraries join and create a human being. So the Ari says that this is called zivug. Zivug is union, and it's called dat because it comes from an initial connection between the two that's on the level of mind, and it comes down and they join together physically. Zivug is dat. Dat is zivug coming together. What he's going to say here is that dat is the solution and also the problem. We'll get to that in a minute. So let's read a little bit more. Because they had originally been born as a result of wasting seed, they were therefore prone to this sin. In other words, the children who were born, the disembodied children who were born from 130 years, prone to this also. So they themselves wasted their own seed, progenitor, because we're in the generation of the flood. And we know that the flood was hot water. The Torah says all flesh corrupted its way upon the earth, where the word way is a hidden allusion to seed that is emitted during sexual relations, with the expression upon the earth indicating that the seed was spilled upon the ground, i.e. wasted. Also, they also did mixing of animals and different species, something that's in the New Age world is attributed to Atlantis. So they played with seed, they played with genetics, right, in their way, to create new combinations. And that's not looked upon so well in the Torah. At any rate, this then is the mystery of the verse, Hashem saw the great evil of Adam in the earth. And it says of Adam, even though they were really just the children of Adam. It says in the verse, the evil of Adam, Ra'at ha'Adam. So the Ari says, for these people were truly and literally the result of Adam's spilling his semen. Not only failing to rectify themselves, but making things worse, these same souls were therefore later reincarnated again during the generation of the Tower of Babel. They were drawn to worshiping many powers, however, later had done in a much more subtle way, Adam. This is the mystery of the verse, Hashem came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of Adam had built, concerning which our sages commented, they were literally children of Adam, children of the first man from the seed he spilled. So the verses that the Ari is bringing are pointing out to us, the sages themselves, and the Ari is just quoting the sages, is that the word Adam here is used thousands of years after Adam. So it really basically brings us back to that there's something they're doing here is a continuation of what Adam did. This text goes on, and we go to page 2. Repetitive. Rav Chaim Vital didn't have any television or movies to watch, so he basically wrote the same book sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 times, which is for our benefit, because every time he wrote a book again, like something else would come up, or he'd write it from a different direction, and they'd meet in the middle and then continue on. It's like a lot of different statements of the exact same thing, but each time in a different way. So in p.19, at the bottom of page 2, Shara Psukim, one of the Shmone Sharim, one of the 8 gates of the writings of the Ari, through Chaim Vital, Shara Psukim, the gate of the verses. So my little introduction to it is this incredible text that you're about to read is a continuation of the above teaching about the 130 years that Adam separated from Chava. Here, Reb Chaim Vital, in the name of the Ari, fills us in with vital information that can change the way you see and live your life. And he starts here in the beginning of Exodus. A new king arose over Mitzrayim who did not know Yosef. The matter of Galut Mitzrayim, the Egyptian exile, requires clarification. We shall do this here, and in the process clarify many verses scattered throughout the Torah. We've already explained in Parashat Re'eh the mitzvah of remembering the Exodus from Mitzrayim, the reason why Israel are exiled among the nations, why, in other words, why Mitzrayim is a prototype of the 4 exiles that came after the Torah. After the Torah is finished and Moshe dies, and we go into the land of Israel, starts the book of Joshua, Samuel, and then the book of Judges, and then Samuel, and then Kings. At the end of the Tanakh, we go into exile in Babylon. And then we go into the Persian exile. And then we get to the Greek exile. And then we're now in the tail end of the Roman exile. Those 4 exiles are all said to have been in the exile in Egypt. So it's not included. It's almost like it's the place from which they all come. So the concept of exile accompanies us throughout the Torah. Our personal lives are exiles from infiniteness, from God. We are the famous son of the king, whom the king sent away, because eventually he wants us to come back to the palace and to crown us with his crown. But in order to do that, we have to be born in a world that is the opposite of heaven, to go through everything we have to go through, the collective drama of the souls, to become who we truly are, but to become that through a process of refinement, right? To gain our kingdom. So we are that son of the king who's sent away from the palace. Exile. So the Ari says here, it all goes back to the fact that Adam contained within himself all souls. He was as well a microcosm of the entire spiritual dimension. When he sinned, all, and in other places it's written most, all of these souls fell from him into the shells, the klipot. Now the shells is like a matrix. It's a virtual existence that, or in Lord of the Rings, it's the underworld. It's the power of darkness. It's that which has no existence of its own and needs human existence in order to feed off and to gain its sustenance. So it becomes a little bit mythological. It's a system of evil that lives off of us because it doesn't have direct access to holiness between it and God. Therefore, it hooks its tentacles up to us and tries in every way that it can to suck its existence from above, but through us. So the klipot, they're called klipot, they're called shells because they have no intrinsic existence. They're called chitzonim, external forces, again, because they have no internal life of their own. They're parasitical. So again, dealing with this and how to deal with this conceptually, this is more mythological. What is this stuff? What are you talking about, right? What forces are you talking about? What kind of world are you living in? Where there are forces that are trying to grab at you every second. I believe in God. There's only God. Nothing else exists. Nothing else is real. Why does the Kabbalah talk about a system of evil that's like a negative system that wants everything to do everything it can to draw you and I down? And that when we die, they want to take our souls and use us to bring more souls down because they're hungry. It's a very strange, forgive me, but it's a very strange way of presenting it, but that's what we're being presented with. Just like in the movie. Just like in the movies. As a result, so I said these souls fell from Adam into the klipot that are divided into 70, corresponding to the 70 nations. So according to the Ari, which is also sources before him, there wouldn't have been 70 nations had Adam not sinned. The only reason that there's 70 nations, the breakdown or the fall of Adam's soul into 70 nations, is because he could have been Mashiach. He could have walked straight in from the 6th day of creation to the 7th millennium. He didn't. Time broke down, space broke down, and soul broke down. There was a collapse and a breakdown of fragmentation. And it was, in a sense, planned. It didn't have to happen. There was, right? He could have gone the high road, but secondary plan was the low road of history, breakdown of everything. And then now the drama becomes much more dramatic. The breakdown into historical time, the loss of God consciousness, and the loss of Adam's soul sunk in a level where the history of the world will go on. And all kinds of systems will arise that are man-made, that are completely, like, basically a hype job on human consciousness. Paro, Nebuchadnezzar, all these kings are the kings of the nations, the exiles. From the prophetic point of view, they're all a dream existence. They have no reality. We are souls who are come from heaven. We're not We're not Egyptians, we're not Persians, right? And the Jewish prophets are telling us that, but it's not understood yet, not even by us. So, exile in all of its, difficulties. So what happens now? As a result, Israel must be exiled into the midst of each nation in order to gather those precious holy souls that were scattered and dispersed among the nations, among the thorns. So Israel goes into exile in order to gather sparks. This follows what our sages said. Why were the people of Israel exiled and dispersed among the nations? To allow to be lost since the time of Adam, and we'd bring them back. And when we come back, we'd bring them back with us. Just like anybody here. Like you came from whatever city you come from. You're bringing back with you sparks that were there in your hometown, where you grew up, where you went to school, the people you knew. They were attracted to you. They all write about this, Rabbi Nachman especially. But all again, you become when you do tshuva, when you come back. What's up ahead, Bezat Hashem, good stuff. But in the meantime, we bring back sparks that have been lost for thousands of years by virtue of the way that we were born, grew up, and where we lived, and the kind of life we lived. And then when we come, in a sense, the forces of evil are very upset with us because we're taking away something that they were living off of. That's the whole story. Forgive me. I'm certainly open to questions, but in a sense, we need to go on because he's at this point still he's just kind of moseying along. But at a certain point, it starts to go into second and third and fourth gear. So next paragraph, we also explained there why Israel was exiled specifically to Mitzrayim. It was because most of those souls, or even all of them, were there intermixed among the klipot called Mitzrayim. Not clear exactly why he has to say this here. He's just come saying it in order to give us an insight into what's coming up. So basically, now he's going to be able to start. He's going back to a verse that happened back in Genesis when there was a famine in Egypt, and Joseph was there, and he had already gone through the 7 years of plenty, and he had now started the years of famine. And so he says here, above we explained the verse, go to Yosef and do what he says. This is Paro speaking to the Egyptians. Go to Yosef and do what he says. Rashi on this verse there, in Genesis 41:55, says that the Egyptians were saying to Paro, we need food. And Paro said, well, go to Yosef. And they said, well, we did, but he wants us to become circumcised. And we don't want to do that. So he said, well, didn't you store food away? He said, yeah, we did, but it went bad. Well, did he store food away? Yes. And is it good? Yes, it's good. Whoa. You better go to Yosef and do what he says. He is the power of life and death. That's the Rashi there on this verse. But there's a very strange thing here is why would Yosef have all the Egyptians circumcised? Like, why would you do that? It's like counterintuitive. The Jewish people have to stand apart, no? So the Ari says, Yosef saw with Ruach HaKodesh which souls among the Egyptians were from the holy seed of Adam that he had spilled during his first 130 years. These souls, because they were brought forth in this way, are called Nig'e B'nei Adam, the curses or the plagues of the children of Adam. They're called Nig'e because they came from an unholy oneg, the same letters, pleasure, caused by the female spirits alluded to in the verse, B'ta'anu God B'nei Adam, Shida V'Shidot. Stuff you never usually hear from anybody. It's just right here in front of us. That the Ari is saying that basically sexuality is the key. Right. So whatever a person does, even when there are, it's almost like inevitable that we are going to do stuff that's not, what the Torah wants. But when a person finds out about this, why Kabbalah is Kabbalah, why Kabbalah is a received transmission, that at whatever point in your life you receive this, it's not telling you what to do, it's just giving you the story. This is the story behind the story, is that each one of us is being called to clean our act up, to know that everything has consequences, that if I do oneg in the wrong way, I get nega. It's a measure for measure system. Once I say, wow, I'd like to be able to overcome whatever I'm doing wrong, and it's going to be hard, then assistance is given. But the knowledge itself is the first level of assistance, is that there's a story that it's not just you, it's not just your personal life. It's part of who you are as a human being, part of a larger story of this collective drama of mankind that goes back to Adam, that he wasted his seed. Anyway, to end this paragraph, as a result, they were transformed from oneg to nega. It is for this reason that when Yosef saw them, he was able to identify them and convert and circumcise them. See below. So, Kit Be'ari, not meant to be read discursively, not meant to be. It's all filled with code words and references to other places. And you can't get it all at once, since it's not fair to share it with you like this. But suspend your judgment until you read the whole thing. You'll take it home with you. There's some really beautiful things here. We're in a difficult part at this point. That's all it is. In terms of, for us, what I want to say here is that the souls that came from the 130 years were reincarnated in their first reincarnation in the generation of the flood. This is on page 4. It's in bold. It's in bold. Their first Gilgul collective soul transmigration was in the generation of the flood. And he goes through a whole thing there, of that they spilt their seed, just that their progenitor had done. That's why the waters of the flood were hot. A whole thing he goes into. Okay. Paragraph after that. We learn from this, the souls of the generation of the flood, who originally came forth from Adam's spilled seed, are called literally Ra'ata Adam, Adam's great evil. This is also the meaning of Hashem said, I will now blot out Ha'adam that I created. Alluding to the fact that these were none other than the souls that came forth from the spilled seed of Adam. So he's really hitting hard on this thing. And it ends with the idea of the boiling water, that paragraph. Second time, what we're interested in here is the progression. After this, they transmigrated a second time in the generation of the tower. Here again, they did evil as their ancestors had done, and they didn't spill their seed, but they made mistakes. A third time in the people of Sodom. Sdom, we actually pronounce it. Sdom. It's therefore written, the people of Sodom were exceedingly raw and sinful to Hashem, again alluding to the fact that they were the same souls who came forth from Adam's spilled seed. Third paragraph from the top of page 5. Now behold, after they transmigrated 3 times, they returned a 4th time in Mitzrayim as the Bnei Yisrael, who were born during the generation of the exile. He's going to modify this shortly and say that there was one more. The 4th time was when they came after Sodom. They transmigrated into the souls of the Egyptians. They transmigrated and were born as Egyptians in the time of Yosef, that we referred to in a minute ago, and that Yosef had them circumcised. And that we're going to see in a minute, it's like strange because it's all out of order. When you read it, once through, and then start reading it again, you can see that things, you can pick up things. What he can say later is that Yosef created a whole people of these conversions who were circumcised, and they're called later on in the Bible, in Parshat Shemot, the Am B'nai Israel. As opposed to the B'nai Israel, the Ari says that one is one and one is the other. One is B'nai Israel and one is the Am B'nai Israel, which is a whole bunch of people who were converted by Yosef, and by the time of Moshe had grown into a whole big population and were living apart from the Egyptians, but also, and were very much bonded with the B'nai Israel, but were not completely Yisrael. Nobody else says this. It's a very powerful idea for me, that there was an Am B'nai Israel. And that by the time that Moshe wanted to take the B'nai Israel out of Mitzrayim for Pesach, on Pesach, he wanted to take those who were still in their fourth incarnation, because the ones who were in their fifth reincarnation were already the B'nai Israel. In the sense, the B'nai Israel in Egypt were the combination of the 70 souls that came from the high road, from Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, and the 70 souls coming down into Egypt, and the mixture that they gave birth to, the souls for 130 years. So, on a meta-historically, just like personally, we have an neshama Elohi, we have a divine soul, we have a nefesh behemit, we have an animal soul, and that our conscious, superconscious divine soul comes to completely rectify and elevate all the stuff that's in the animal soul that's trying to drag me down, and to bring it up and to make it one complete human being who's awesome, right? That's what each one of us has the potential to be. So on a collective scale, the B'nai Israel in Egypt were a combination of these two gene pools, so to speak. And the children that were being born were from the 130 years, but they were being born to the 70 souls and their descendants. So the complete mixture. Those 130-year souls were their fifth. There was their fifth time. The fourth ones were those whom Yosef had circumcised and were still in their fourth, and they're later called in the Torah the Erev Rav. So the Ari is the only one who actually identifies them not just as a bunch of Egyptians who want to come with us and leave Egypt with us, but as this special people that had grown up beside us and that were in the millions and that had come from Yosef's work. So that's why I say here that he modifies this somewhat when he says that there were four reincarnations, and the fifth one was when we became Yisrael. Again, we'll start the paragraph again. Behold, after they transmigrated 3 times, returned a fourth time in Mitzrayim. Again, we'll see that's going to be a fifth time, as the B'nai Israel, who were born during that generation of the exile. This was the beginning of their rectification. See below, where this is modified slightly. With this, we can now answer a difficult problem that has bothered the greatest sages from time immemorial. See the Zohar where Rabbi Elazar asks his father, Rabbi Shimon, why Israel had to be exiled to Mitzrayim more than any other land? More, why was that exile so harsh? As it says, they embittered their lives with difficult work, with lime and with bricks. Based on what we have said, this will become clear. These souls had become sunken in the klipot of Mitzrayim. Therefore, since they had spilled their seed during their first reincarnation in the generation of the flood and were judged in boiling water, now too Paro decreed upon them, every male child shall be cast into the Nile. Water. His decree was directed specifically towards the male children, for it was they who had sinned by spilling their seed, not the females. Then he goes into the Tower of the Babel, that why we had to make bricks in Egypt was because he had made bricks to make the Tower of Babel. So his purpose here is this whole, presenting us with this whole thing on a grand scale, is that every Pesach, when Pesach comes around, there's a light that shines that's not just the light that shone back then, but more of the same and more, bigger, closer to Mashiach. Just as it brought that whole Egyptian exile to its culmination and brought the children of Israel out of Egypt, right, and stood at Sinai. So in a sense, we are going to be brought out of our Egypt exile consciousness, loss of dot, to be standing again at another level of Sinai. So the Torah, in that sense, again, is a template. It's not something that just once happened and it's over. It's a story that itself bespeaks of a larger story. The idea that we come back over and over again. You see, it's all over the place. We come back different each time. We have a chance to, and I really believe it's a system where it's not like you're bad children and now you just have to be, do whatever I say. It's, you have a life, right? And in your life is Hashem. And so the tikkun, the rectification is to see your life as an unfolding of consciousness. And the mistakes that any of us might have made as opportunities to know what I need to fix and to ask for help in doing that. The cleaning of Pesach, right? The emphasis on getting into the cracks and into the crevices, to my cracks, my crevices, right? To see, it says, livdok et hametz, to check the hametz, not to check for hametz and to get rid of it. The hametz itself is what I need to work with. My own hametz. What is it? What is it about? What is it about me that I want to fix? And really, unless I connect with the higher level of my own consciousness, which is called Moshe Rabbeinu, how am I going to know? So some people say, check the chametz your whole life. And some people say, feel the light. And then once you feel the light, it'll be clear to you what you need to do. Maybe both, maybe from the bottom up and maybe from the top down. But basically what I want to get ready for this Pesach, right? Never been a Pesach like this before. Never been a light shining like this. The world on the outside, more and more against us. And here we are, coming into Pesach. Coming into this awareness that we are souls who have been here before. That Paro is a symbol for he who sucks our energy off us, to regain our energy, to reclaim our energy, to reclaim our soul birthright. That's what this generation is about. To stand up strong. How that's going to manifest, what it's going to involve, don't know. So it's perhaps a strange way to start preparing for Pesach. But basically, to get into our consciousness that something is in culminating phase. History is culminating. Moshe Rabbeinu is present, seeping into us an idea that there's this big story and that we're here, the children of Israel, in order to bring this story to its fruition, to its culmination. So where does that leave us? Mm-hmm. What do you feel?
Inside us.
Hmm?
Continue Yosef inside us.
To what, the Yosef?
Inside us.
To what?
To the Yosef inside us.
To connect?
Connect. Yosef inside us.
Yisod, Yosef, Moshe.
Go to Yosef.
Go to Yosef. Do what he says. Yosef is like a secret agent. He went down into Egypt with what his father had taught him. And he did the work that his father had taught him. Recruit recruits, convert converts. That's your job. That's what I've taught you. That's what I got from my grandfather Abraham, to bring souls under the wings of the Shekhinah, to awaken people to their true mission in life. At least that we have a mission, that we are something more than what we've been brought up to think that we are. Allow each one of us, help your friends, help each other, help all of us. Not tell us nobody can tell us who we are. Basically, we live in a generation where there are no prophets, and anybody who says they can tell you who you are, kind of beware. But that we can help each other know that there is something. When we look at each other's eyes, we look at each other and we give each other the awareness. And almost like you create a triangular thing. You look in another person, see if you can relate to this, and connect to their yechida more easily than you can to your own. And you channel down their yechida into them, and you look at them and empower them. And they can do the same thing for you. We can do that for each other. We can become Bnei Yisrael, Klal Yisrael. Because in a sense, the political situation, the international geopolitical situation, it's like, even though it was a great speech in Congress, unbelievable. It was a magnificent speech because he was saying things as they are. But the real way to neutralize Iran is the spiritual power of Am Yisrael. Or maybe, certainly not, if not the only way, the inner way is to change ourselves, to amplify that godliness within ourselves, to help each other amplify the godliness with the other, to do the psychological work that each one of us needs to do, to be there for each other. So I'm just trying to put a little spin on like how to connect this into my life, to your life, to make this Pesach should be truly another level of Pesach. That the cleaning that we do, the preparation that we do, the wine that we drink, the matzah that we eat, it all should be unbelievably high, unbelievably joyous. B'ezrat Hashem.
So about the converts, so they got circumcised and then they became part of Bnei Israel?
No, it became the Am Bnei Israel. You'll see this in here. You'll see this in here. See, basically left it till the end. Page 6. The third paragraph from the top, these converts, which the Torah designates Am Bnei Israel, did not mix with the other Egyptians. On the contrary, they dwelt alone in their own cities and villages and maintained the customs of the Bnei Israel, as per the verse, Ve'et ha'am he'evir oto le'arim. As for the people, he, Yosef, transferred them to the cities, from one end of the borders of Mitzrayim to the other end. Like, you might never pay attention to this verse. Like, who did he make population transfers of, right? The Am Bnei Israel that's mentioned only later on in Genesis chapter 1. These people were those very converts whom Yosef had circumcised and segregated in such special cities. Did I mention, again, I'll mention it again just at the end, Moshe wanted to bring out, along with the fifth timers, right, those who had become Bnei Israel in their fifth reincarnation, he wanted to bring out the fourth timers. And Hashem said, no, they'll only make trouble. And Moshe said, this is Midrashic, Moshe said, I have to. They were also part of my soul when I was Adam. We said he was Shet, he was Hevel, but really in a general sense, he was Adam also. And so The argument is, please let me take them out also. Hashem said, no, they're just going to make trouble. They're not ready. They got to die one more time. Then they become Bnei Israel. They got to be fifth. Right? No, I got to take them out. My humble opinion is very interesting that he had to take them because you have to have at Sinai an exact replica of what you had in Eden. In Eden, you have three main characters besides God. Check this out. Adam, Eve, and our friend. And then who's the three main characters besides God? And not Aaron a Cohen. That's odd, when teacher asks question and they want a specific answer, so all the other answers are wrong. No, I have something in mind, obviously, and you'll see what it is. It'll make sense. But all answers are right. But the three main characters that I see are Moshe, corresponding to who? Adam. Bnei Israel is Chava. Now, Adam left Chava alone. The Nachash approached Chava when Adam was not there. The Gemara says he was flying around the planet. The Zohar says he was upstairs in Shemayim. He was meditating. He was seeing all of history. One way or the other, Adam left Eve alone. And the Nachash approached her. Where was Moses? Where was Moshe on the 40th day when the Erev Rav, the fourth timers, tried to make a golden calf? Where was Moshe? Eve was all alone with the Erev Rav, with the Nachash. Moshe was in Shemayim. Adam was in Shemayim. He had to create the exact parallel situation. If Eve could have now overcome Nachash, then it would have been the complete rectification. But on the other hand, you'd say, well, why do you want to bring that in the first place? They're all going to make trouble, and it's going to ruin everything. You have to have the problem maker. You have to have him there. Otherwise, you're going to have perfection in the what? It's not a real fixing. That's the very problem. So if the problem is not going to be present, science is going to be great. It's not going to have any effect on what we need to do here. So I have to take the chance. Yeah.
So with Mashiach, should there be a similar distinct parallel? Or
yes.
Is it more of a just...
Yeah, I mean, you can read into it and say that here in Israel, there's definitely all the forces are converging. The forces that don't want to lead, that want to go into the seventh millennium, into the Great Shabbos, into the Messianic age, and there are forces that are trying to block it. They're trying to block it. In terms of, in my book, Spiritual Technology, I write about the 6th hour of the 6th day of creation. Eve was approached by the Nachash. So the 6th hour of the 6th day of history was Tafshin Nun, 5750, which was the equivalent of 1990. And that was 12 o'clock noon, so to speak, of the Friday of history. And so certain things started to happen. However you want to read it, but certain things started to happen that would try and block. What's happening is, on the large scale, is as we get closer to the end, there's an incredible light shining in from the future, the light of Shabbos. That's why women light early on Friday, is to bring in the Shabbos before it's actually physically present. It's still day. You can bring in Shabbos. When you bring in Shabbos, right there, Judy brings in Shabbos, the whole house changes. Right? You're bringing Shabbos. You're internalizing it. In the merit of all the women who have brought in Shabbos early for thousands of years, we are hoping to bring in the great Shabbos early. But there are forces that want to stop that. And it's exactly the same parallel to the Nachash coming to Eve at 12 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday of history, a Friday of the 6th day of creation. It's all symbolic with numbers and metaphors and parallels. But the symbols are so clear when you start to work with them. The darkness that surrounds us is, in a sense, one of Hashem's tricks of how to bring in more light. The light is streaming in. The light of the higher souls is streaming into us and into the world. We are being impacted by very powerful, positive lights. even though and despite the fact that outside the world seems to be getting darker. Why? Because it's in order to maintain the free will balance. If so much light is coming in, and if that light would be revealed, it would be obvious, then it would not be the dramatic ending that the Creator wants. On the other hand, even though we like dramatic endings, but please come to our rescue before it's too late, because the forces of darkness at this point seem to be stronger than the forces of light, and that's not fair. So give us the power that we need to become who we need to be. Give us the memory that we need. Give us the dot that we need. I says, oh, maybe, okay. He says, okay, I hear you. So do some deep work in yourselves. Well, tell us how to do it. Right? That's where I'm holding right now. I'm saying Pesach and all these holidays are an incredible infusion, a downloading of light. Our job is to prepare ourselves to do the best we can, to want the light, to desire it, and to become ready to use it when it's given to us. To become the great, incredibly beautiful people that we are. Yeah.
Like when it says that Yosef circumcised, so is it more than just like the physical act? Was there like, do we know there was a process that he converted with he said brachot and things, or is it basically the same as saying like 95% of America has actually been converted to Jews because they go to a hospital and get circumcised?
I don't have a simple answer. The truth is, it's more than a physical act. And for us, perhaps that's the most important thing: is a man who has circumcision and doesn't use it right is really not considered circumcised. It's what we do with our circumcision. A Jewish man nowadays has to be very careful. If you want any degree of holiness and consciousness, nobody's asking you to be not human. You're human. Married, not married, you try your best to not look at certain things, to not go certain places, to not have certain ideas and think and thoughts and fantasies. And then you pray before you go to sleep that you'll be protected, that you won't have anything try and come and suck off your energy. Because you have to have protection. So when you're protected, then you can be able to build yourself up in your dot. Otherwise, your dot is going to go into exile constantly in being lowered down. You need your Moshe Rabbeinu to lift up your dot, to bring the children of Israel out of Egypt, up into the desert, up to Sinai, to lift up all of our broken and fragmented pieces so we can be whole. So, but that which brings us down is going to constantly try and do that until we can start to make it so clear that that can't happen anymore. So sexuality is not the only thing in life, but it's certainly, I guess, for everybody in this room, in this city, in this world right now, this generation, it's certainly one part to clean our act up, to desire the good. That's why yeshivas push for marriage. Why? Because even though they may be doing it the wrong way sometimes and putting people together, right, that they shouldn't be together, but their intention is that children are growing up in a world now that's so hard sexually, where there's so many things going on that are so hard for us. So give us a chance to be able to clean ourselves, to come together in holy matrimony. I don't know. I don't want to say any more. But I guess it's more than physical, but I don't know anything about how to really answer you.
Because it seems like from what it's written, it could be like we've somehow in America, it's been created like a 200 million person Arab realm.
Okay, the truth is that
Even in Egypt, they were all circumcised. They all wanted to get it.
yeah, and it's not clear in the Ari if all of them or many of them. It says that in one place it says that he spotted them with Ruach HaKodesh. In other places, he's saying that seems to be that he's circumcising all of them. It's not clear to me. that is nobody else explains, though, if with any degree of like completeness that the area has of why he would even do such a thing. So it's really basically a spiritual message for us, for each one of us. However the details of the story work out, is that we need to be able to come to our higher level. That's our prayer. That's what Pesach is about. The light that shines down on Pesach is a light that frees us from Paro completely. We'll talk more about this next week, all the positive stuff of what Pesach is about. We have one more week before Pesach, and I hope that we'll really be able to get some positive stuff here. Huh? I think we have only 1 week. It's
Yeah, the week before Pesach,
but the 2 weeks, do we the 2 weeks before? Okay, if fine, if be in touch. We'll send out the emails.
Yeah.
When's the rabbi coming back?
Next Thursday. Next, I don't know, Wednesday, Thursday, something like
Okay, all right.
Is the Klippot in Israel stronger than outside of Israel because the Kedusha is stronger here?
Yes and no. In a sense, there's more of a desire to bring us down when we're here. On the other hand, we have much, much more of a chance to be able to like to think about it more. Something is coming in. Like Eretz Israel is Rabbi Nachman spoke about it in terms of the word miniot. The same letters for the miniot, which are obstacles, turned around to ne'imut, sweetnesses. Ne'imot. The Torah says that you'll come into the land and you'll find houses that are already built. And then sometimes there'll be leprosy on the houses. You'll have to take the stones apart. The Midrash says that that's exactly where the Amorites and the Jebusites and all of them hid their treasures. So the very thing which has plague on it, which is the result of me doing something wrong, behind that, right, behind those obstacles that I encounter in Eretz Yisrael, behind that person who just yelled at me, or that bank clerk who said to me to go to 5 other bank clerks because I didn't have the right papers. All of that is like miniot, it's obstacles, but the sweetness is if I handle it right and then don't let it bother me, then Eretz Yisrael welcomes me and opens its arms to me. There was one of many stories. One guy's making a party. He's been here 30 years. Why are you making a party? I just came on Aliyah. But you've been here 30 years. I just made it. Things have started to slow. Until now, everything was fighting me. When I was with I'm now married like 30, I'm married 30 something years. On my 31st anniversary, I was going to the Kotel with my wife, and she was saying, 31, it's low. No. What's so? First of all, I said, from the moment we have our 31st anniversary, it's the beginning of our 32nd year, which is Lev. So that already is one thing. Secondly, Yeshua had to fight 31 kings to get into Eretz Yisrael. We've just fought them all. We're starting our 32nd year. So again, obstacles. I can handle them much more easily. On the other hand, go to Los Angeles, go to Australia, go to Florida, go to New York. There's obstacles there. What's the qualitative difference exactly? But anybody who really knows that this is the place to be. What can we do? Bless us all. We should all be here. Yeah. Oh, okay. When you're there, you don't even know you're in trouble. Okay.
Can I just give
No,
three positive spins?
Great.
Number one, it's been known that there is now more learning of Torah at this time in history than at any other time ever. Number two, they say by the next Shemitah year, there will be more than 50% of all Jews will be living in Eretz Yisrael. And number three, if you look back in history, October 6th, 1943, 400 Orthodox rabbis walked on Washington, D.C., including Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, including Rabbi Soloveitchik, to speak to the President of the United States.
father.
Shlomo's father, okay, Reb Naftali,
To speak to Roosevelt,
19,
43, to ask them to please bomb the railroad tracks at Auschwitz, leading to Auschwitz. And they were told no. This year, as you mentioned, Netanyahu, one Jew, tell people, we don't even need you. We can do it ourselves. That's where we are. Rak HaKadosh Baruch Hu, mamash. That's a big year.
Thank you. It's big stuff, really big stuff.
We've come a long way.
So the Miniyot, the forces that want to try and stop us actually will fall, just fall. They have no more power over us. Because once we have, but it's Netanyahu did so well, and he mentioned God at the end, very end, the last thing he said. But he didn't do he said only half the verse that he quoted. Yeah. And the other half would have been Hashem. But okay, I have no complaints. No complaints. He did an amazing thing. And Hashem should be with him. Because every leader of Am Yisrael has the potential to be Mashiach. Right? You can download that level. Just be humble, be honest, do the right thing, and you become a kli for that messianic spirit. It's not going to be only one guy, only one man, and it's every single one of us in our capacity to be honest, have integrity, to do what we need to do, to believe in Hashem with all of our might, to walk in there with the power of Hashem behind us. We become Mashiachs. So much to say. And with the power of the great rabbis, the great tzaddikim, who are here in this world and who are also already in the other world, and all helping us, pushing us. They're not leaving us alone. So it's huge what's going to be. Yitkadal v'yikadash Shemei Rabbah.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. A couple of things. Please sign the sign-in sheet, and please pay for the class. And tomorrow night at 7:30, Shlomo Katz is going to be here, also bringing them light towards Pesach. And everybody who would like to put all this learning into, or some of it anyway, into practicality, notice there are some pink stickers on each shelf. We're always asking our students to please help us clean books. So I have a sign